Hello! It's 8 minutes past 2 on the 3rd of August 2013. I've just woken up again, having had my little coughing fit that I've talked about yesterday. So I'm sitting here having a cigarette, thinking about things. And the fun thing I just looked at was to see how many people actually are reading my blog. And the answer is obviously none, except for me. I'm reading it, I'm watching it. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about, am I the only person in the world who doesn't ever get a phone call from anybody? Every time we get anywhere, doesn't matter where you are, on a bus, on a train, waiting for a train, waiting for a bus, in a shop, out of a shop, at home, not at home, whatever, no one ever rings me. Nobody gets a phone call. The only people that ring me, Melvin does, when he wants his tablets, and people at work, they ring me. Occasionally the kids ring me, and very, 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 very occasionally I get a phone call from someone else. But everybody else is getting phone calls all the time, and text messages. Walking down the road, beep, ring, 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 the phone rings, and there's someone talking to them, chat to them, asking how they are, telling them something, and I never get nothing. And I wonder how many people there are like me that never get nothing. Or very little. Not many is the answer. Because you walk down the road, and watching them run, they've all got their phones out, they're always talking, innit? And people are walking down the road, you think, well, there's another nutter talking to themselves, but they're not, they're talking to somebody. And the other day I went out for dinner, this was on a barbecue, and there was a whole family of deaf people, signing or sign languaging, or whatever it's called. And there were children, and there were adults, and they were obviously like, maybe related, having a nice deaf family day out, having a chat. And I was sitting there, I can talk, and people can listen to me, and I know what to talk to. But these deaf people were going, something like that. And it was quite interesting watching them. And so there's a couple of thoughts to cheer us all up, not me, because I'm the only one noticing. So anyway, what else was I thinking about? I was thinking about names. I'm officially Jonathan Howard Keith Miller. Now, am I the only Jonathan Howard Keith Miller to ever have existed? Or are there others? It's a good thought, isn't it? Because there's probably lots and lots and lots and lots of Jonathan Millers. And maybe there's quite a few Jonathan Howard Millers, but probably not. There's not that common a name, is it? So, how many Jonathan Howard Keith Millers are there? And the answer is probably none. I'm probably the only one, ever. Which is a nice thought. Because if you were called Anthony Smith or something like that, there's probably billions of you. Billions and billions of Anthony Smiths. And if you were called David Thomas, there's billions of David Thomases, I expect. And if you were called Ali McAllie, or Ali Khan, there's probably billions of people called that. But I wonder how many Jonathan Howard Keith Millers there are. I don't think I'm the only one. So I'm quite pleased about that. If there was another Jonathan Howard Keith Miller, I wonder what kind of life they've got. Are they happy? Are there lots and lots and lots of other Jonathan Howard Keith Millers around in the world? Or have they been? And are they, or were they, happy Jonathan Howard Keith Millers? And if that was the case, then I could be the unhappy one. So even then I'd be different. So, or the rosy one, or whatever. So I've been thinking about that. And then I was thinking about other names, nicknames. I've got quite a few. Now I tell everyone this is funny. Well, yes. My ex-wife used to call me Dickhead. Now at the time, I thought that was a loving nickname. You know, I can't think of the word, but I thought she meant it lovingly, but she obviously didn't. She obviously just meant Dickhead. So, you know, that's one of my names. I've had many, many other names, but one of them was Grinny Yog when I was young. Now that was named by Christine's friend because I grinned all the time. Now the reason I grinned all the time is because I was happy. Because at the time, when I went round to see Christine and her friend, and her other friend, Imogen, it was Kate was her name, I think, a long time ago now. And this was in London, and they lived in Clapham South. Yeah, Clapham South. In block of flats. And I used to go around there and watch them, and they'd be chatting away about their stuff, like knitting, girly stuff, and it used to make me happy. So I used to grin. And they called me Grinny Yog, so that was nice. But my other name, now, years and years and years ago, when I was quite young, and I first met Christine, and I was totally in love with her, I went to the Isle of Wight with my friends, Raymond and Mark, and we went on 2 holidays. One was walking and one was cycling. I think it was a cycling holiday. I bought every Mr. Men thing I could buy. Everywhere I went, I looked, and if there was a Mr. Men thing, I bought it with Christine. Rulers, pencils, pencil cases, pads, key rings, you know, anything with Mr. Men on it, I bought it. And I bought it for her, because I loved her. So when I got back, you know, she got all this Mr. Men stuff, and she probably thought, Dickhead, but she never said it. Well, not to me anyway. So, she bought me a little badge that had Mr. Grumpy on it. Now, Mr. Grumpy was my favourite Mr. Men, apart from Mr. Nosy. I liked Mr. Grumpy's name, but I liked Mr. Nosy's nose. He had a big nose and he was green. Mr. Grumpy was blue. And in my time, I've had a few Mr. Grumpy things, like slippers and stuff, you know. So that's one of my nicknames, Mr. Grumpy. So I've been Dickhead, and I've been Grinny Yog, and I've been Mr. Grumpy. Now, I was thinking, when I was at school, I got bullied by my friends, my best friends. Gary Shepherd, he was my best friend. He used to make me go to school with him, so he used to bully me into cycling to school with him. And then he told me how ugly I was, and how much better looking he was, and stuff like that. He also bullied me into going to youth club and scouts with him, which I did. And he was my best mate for 2 years, and he bullied me all the time. And then we used to go out, we used to go down at Brighton on the train, and him and all my other mates would gang round and go, Windy Miller, Windy Miller, Windy Miller, Windy Miller, after this character on television from Camberwell Green, which is a children's programme. Now Windy Miller was a character on that, and he had a windmill, and that's why he was called Windy Miller. Now, there's nothing wrong with being called Windy Miller, except I've got nothing to do with, you know, it's got nothing to do with being like the windmill man in Camberwell Green. It's just the fact it just wasn't very nice. So they used to do that, and it used to upset me. but I could never think of a suitable retort. And probably even now I couldn't. So if people just started going windy Miller for no reason, I'd still probably get upset. But that lasted a couple of years and I just changed my friends. And they never called me Windy Miller. So I was happy again. So I was back to my pretty good self. And that's not all. What other names have I been called? Now, Tata used to call me Mr. Jonny. And I used to call her Miss Tata. And I used to say, I miss Miss Tata when she wasn't with me. And she used to say, what are you talking about? No, she didn't actually. I made it down. So, anyway, I was Mr. Jonny and she was Miss Tata. I quite like that. Mr. Jonny is a good name. And her friends used to call me Mr. Jonny or Mr. John. So I've been Mr. Jonny and I've been Mr. John. Now, my other name, one of my names, which I gave myself, is Jonny Rainbow. Now, where does that come from? It actually comes from eBay. Because when I joined eBay, I had to give myself a name. And I gave myself the name Rainbow Jonny. Now, the reason I gave myself the name Rainbow Jonny was I like rainbow. I do like rainbows, but I like Rainbow the band, Richie Blackmore's band. And when I first joined eBay, I couldn't believe how much stuff there was on eBay to do with Richie Blackmore, which I've never heard, which I've never seen. Music books, CDs, bootlegs, everything. I've been, all my life I've been looking for all this stuff and never finding any. And suddenly, within, a day, I found all this stuff. And at the time I was married, and it was just before Christmas. And my ex-wife said to me, don't buy anything, because she wanted to buy me stuff for Christmas. And she didn't know me very well, so she didn't know what to buy me for Christmas. So she was going to buy me all this rainbow stuff. But the thing is, I couldn't wait. I was so excited. So I bought loads of stuff and I pissed her off. And that's how it all started. I was Rainbow Jonny. Now I was Rainbow Jonny for quite a time. And after a while I started selling stuff because I had so much stuff. I'd buy like CDs and then I'd have too much. And then people said, do you want this one? Do you want that one? And I'd go, well, I'll stop it. And so I started making CDs for other people. And then I started swapping them because I didn't want to buy anymore. And then one day eBay contacted me and said that someone had stolen my identity and I could no longer be Rainbow Jonny. So at that point I became Jonny Rainbow. And later on, when I have a friend, who was my friend for a little bit and then decided not to be, and anyway, she used to introduce me to her friends as Jonny Rainbow. And they look at me, and I'm dressed in black, because I do, normally. This is sort of grey, but normally I'm in black. And I'm sort of looking grumpy. And they think, well, why the fuck is he called Jonny Rainbow? He must be really exciting or something, jolly, happy, whatever, colourful. And they were faced with this kind of black, austere, grumpy figure. And they probably couldn't work it out. That's because they didn't know the whole story, so they couldn't work everything. My dad, and presumably my mother, gave me the name Jonathan. Howard Keith. Now I know the Keith bit came from a cricketer, but I'm not really sure where the other. Howard came from my uncle, who was called Harold. So Howard is a bit similar to Harold, but I'm not quite sure about Jonathan. Anyway, that's me. Jonathan Howard Keith Miller. Now I've had lots and lots of other names. And I can't think of any more. So I'll just think for a minute while you're watching. Look around, do some humming or something. I did write these all down once. There was quite a few different names. But I can't think of them. I'm called Dad by my kids. They call me Dad. They don't call me Jonathan. They call me Dad. having called John, because when I was young I didn't like the name Jonathan. Jonathan was used by my stepmother, mainly, when she was pissed off with me. Everyone else called me John. Now, I don't know why. And I like the name Jonny. Just like the name Jonny. And in Penzance, when I worked there, they called me Jonny. And when I worked in town a few years ago, they called me Howie. So there's a couple of names. And but when I went to France, when I was back 18, with my mates, we went to the south of France. I think it was the Ardèche, and we were camping sauvage in the Ardèche, and that basically meant you camped in the forest. You didn't pay because there was no campsites, and you could run around naked if you wanted to. So then we were frolicking in the forest naked. And one of the people there was this absolutely beautiful girl called Ariel. Now, Rainbow wrote a song about a girl called Ariel, but I don't think it was her. Anyway, this girl was absolutely beautiful, blonde, nymph-like, fairy-like, running around naked in the forest, frolicking in the forest. And me and my mates, we all fancied her, and but we were too naive and young to know what to do about that. So one day we were having a tete-a-tete around the bonfire at night time, and she started talking to me, and she called me Jonathan, and I was totally in love because I thought it sounded really, there was a little French accent to the Jonathan, was really lovely, and I liked that. And I was trying to talk to her in my pidgin French. Hello, je m'appelle Jonathan. Aha. And she goes, and then I go, I can't remember French still, but anyway, we had this little conversation. But my mate John, who was called Little John, because he was little, very short, and I was bigger than him, so I was called Big John. So my mate Little John took over the conversation, and as he'd been studying French at school, and as he was due to take a year off in France, and then attend Exeter University to study French, his French was better than mine. So he took over the conversation, and for some reason, my bloody idiot, I went off and listened to it, thinking that his French was better than mine. But she liked me, and that's why she was calling me Jonathan. And anyway, it was lovely. It was all a bit nasty. Now, just thinking, if I'd actually made a move, things would be totally different. Maybe I'd have a French wife at the very young age of 17 or 18. My friend Jack McKee, who was with us, he stayed on in France. He actually met someone on the same holiday, and got married to her. But I didn't. I went home. And maybe if I had persisted in my French conversation with Ariel, things would be totally different. So there's a couple of names I've added. But now it's only 2:30, and I've been sitting here smoking. Well, I've done me coughing, so I won't be doing that for a bit. I might have a little drinky. And I just see if I can think of any more names for a minute. Dad, Daddy, that's cool. Mr. John, Mr. Johnny, Howie, Johnny, Dickhead, Green Yolk, Mr. Grumpy, Jonathan, Jonathan, John. Now, when you're called John, people think you're called John, i.e. John, but I'm not called John, I'm called John. So people when they go like John, they don't mean me, they mean John with an H, but I'm John without an H, so I'm John, not John. So there's a difference, and I'm quite pleased about that, because John is very John, very common, but John isn't so common, and that's because it's an abbreviation of Jonathan. So actually they're two very different names, although they sound similar. And apparently Ian is French for John. So there's another thought, or is it Scottish, or is it both? One of the two. And also James is an abbreviation or a dereliction of John, or the other way around. Or it could be Joseph, but I think it's James. And there's another thought, could be called James. So there's a few of my names, and there's a few, but I can't remember them. So I think I've finished this blog, and it is now 00.20.40, 42, 43, 44, 5, 6.